welcome to the second episode of 5 Points Perspectives, the Cocky Bastards Chronicles. This is the Labor Day edition, and
a little more casual.
A little more casual today. Been out in the sun, been eating bratwurst and all that good stuff. So we're here though. We're live. We're gonna kind of hit on where we're at with the bet. We're both 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0, and I think we're looking a lot better actually. The SEC wasn't looking too hot this weekend, so
people expected a lot better performance from teams like LSU, teams like Tennessee, teams like Kentucky, Mississippi State, and they all struggled mightily, and a couple of them lost, Trey.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. Probably my favorite game of the weekend. There's only one way it could have been better. Would be if Tennessee would have actually lost. But Tennessee, App State came to play. Tennessee showed up. Ain't I great? Number 9 in the nation. We got this game at home. All we gotta do is show up. Josh Dobbs looking like an alien, and it didn't really get them anywhere. They were struggling to beat App State in overtime. They actually deserved to lose, fumbling the ball in overtime.
I know it.
That they lucked out with that win. The national media is sort of talking up a little bit. Oh, at least they won at home. That's what championship teams do. I don't buy it. I think they go 7-6 this year if they're lucky. But if we see that crap next week, or really again, they're not going to get this lucky again.
No, they got Virginia Tech this week in Bristol.
Yeah.
Bristol Motor Speedway. I think they're going to lose that game if they play like they did against App State. And then you want to go to Missouri. We said last week they were the worst team in the conference, one of the worst teams in the country. And I think they definitely proved that going to West Virginia. I guess losing to West Virginia on the road is a lot better than winning a conference game at Vanderbilt. So
that's what they say.
Whatever that's about.
Losing to a middle-of-the-road Big 12 team, apparently that's a little more respectable than actually being a conference opponent on the road. But we'll let the talkers talk. Power rankings power on, and I think the truth will shake itself out. So moving on, we have Kentucky and Southern Miss. Not a lot to say about this, but
man, that was embarrassing.
Yeah,
that was embarrassing. Kentucky, you're up 35-10. You fire your offensive coordinator. He goes to Southern Miss in his first game there. Comes back down 35-10.
Hanks 34 on your ass.
Hanks
in the
30.
second half.
Yeah, unacceptable. Mark Stoops, you're definitely in the hot seat. That's a game to get you fired right there.
Now, up next, we have Arkansas, Louisiana Tech. Beating Louisiana Tech by a point at home, that's still better than beating a conference opponent on the road from what the national media is telling me.
Then you have Florida UMass. This game was 10-7 in the fourth quarter, and Florida goes on to win 24-7. But Florida struggled mightily against UMass. I don't know what it was. Steve Spurrier being there, naming the field after him. All the distractions with that. I don't know what it was, but Florida was very unimpressive, along with pretty much every other team in the SEC last weekend. So.
Yeah, and then this brings us to LSU, Wisconsin, real quick. I've seen power rankings with LSU at number 2 in the SEC. Based on what, I'm not sure. Leonard Fournette, there's no doubt he's good. Their receivers are actually pretty good, but who's going to get him the ball?
But unless Les Miles and LSU wins out, I think he is done. There's so much more talent than Wisconsin, and still lost. Albeit it was at Lambeau in Green Bay, but there was no excuse for that. LSU should have won that game and won it easily.
So Georgia looked all right against North Carolina, I guess.
Yeah. Stop yourself there. Nick Chubb looked okay against North Carolina. He had 31 carries, over 220 yards, a couple touchdowns. But besides that, Georgia, not impressed.
Not impressed. USC and Bama, I think right now Bama is the scariest team in the nation. Lane Kiffin came in there, chip on his shoulder, I think a little bit. Being unceremoniously fired by USC in the parking lot after losing a game on the road. So I think he wanted to sort of run the score up a little bit and show who the better team was. And I think Alabama's a force to be reckoned with in the SEC this year and in the nation.
Jalen Hurts, the freshman he played the majority of the game, he looked great. Didn't look like a freshman. He was poised, came in there, delivered for the offense, and Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban, man, there's something to watch for.
For sure. And that brings us to the number 2 team in the nation. We don't like to talk about Clemson much here. A lot of Gamecock shows they want to talk a little trash about Clemson. I'm not going to talk much trash, but I just got to say their MVP last week. Well, first of all, they look nothing like Alabama.
No.
There's some parity between the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation. And then besides that, I would have to say Gus Malzahn is probably their MVP. I mean, you're in the red zone 4 times, you come up with 10 points. That's unacceptable. That's not the way you beat number 2 team in the nation. Clemson has that kind of performance again. Or if they can't rise above that level of performance, I should say, they're going to have a hard time with Louisville, going to have a hard time with Florida State. I think NC State, they're always a trap game. Georgia Tech, came up big in Dublin against Boston College. Even Boston College might beat them. Screw it, who cares? and they're definitely gonna have some trouble with us.
Yeah, that's definitely a loss. Gus Malzahn, like you said, it's almost like he didn't have faith in his defense, and
I
they
don't
played
know what was
well.
going on.
They
Yeah.
played well the whole game, so I'm not sure what his thought process was there. I mean, their offense was abysmal, but still they hung in the game and almost should have won, thanks to Dabo's late decision not to kick the field goal.
Yeah, and Dabo's coming out and saying, well, I want to give it my defense. But last time I checked, when you kick a field goal, I think your defense gets it. Is that, I'm not an expert, but I think that's how that works. Okay, well, that brings us to our favorite game of the weekend. What's funny about this game, Vandy versus South Carolina, is, the national media, all I've heard all offseason is how much respect they're giving Vandy, how great Vandy's looked in offseason. They're going to have a great defense. Shermer's going to come out. He's going to play. I mean, they're saying on ESPN all day, like, Shermer is destined for greatness, some kind of Clemson nonsense. But, for all they talked about Vandy, they haven't really respected beating Vandy at home. All I've heard all offseason is Vandy's great, ain't Vandy great. We beat them on the road, and it's like nothing happened. It's like we might as well have lost to West Virginia or, barely beaten Louisiana Tech.
It really is shocking the agenda the national media has against South Carolina. They go on the road, a young team, down 10, and still find a way to win despite a lot of things not going their way. But it's like they ignore that and still bash South Carolina for going on the road and winning. I don't get it.
Sorry, we won, America. I'm very sorry, but we actually do win football games every now and again. So, yeah, we come out the first half. We were sloppy. A lot of mental errors, obviously. We had the turnovers. We had the penalties early.
False starts, illegal man downfield, Debo Samuel muffing the punt and dropping it, giving Vandy the ball in very good field position. A lot of those things were just young guys playing in the first collegiate game.
The mental errors, the false starts, the holding calls were consistent through every game last year. And this game, we got it out of our system in the first quarter.
We held Vanderbilt to their only touchdown was scored with 14:40 to go in the second quarter. And after that, they didn't do much at all on offense. They ran the ball pretty well, pretty effectively.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, South Carolina's defense looked really, really good.
Our defense really held them the entire game. And, you have to take it with a grain of salt because it is Vandy's offense. They're probably not going to light up the scoreboards this year. But even still, I was definitely encouraged by it. If we don't muff that punt, we hold Vandy to 3. They really only had one drive in them.
Had Brandon McElwain not fumbled going into the red zone there, they would have probably scored a touchdown. They were moving the ball pretty effectively.
The second half, we looked like a different team. Perry Worth played well.
Had it not been for a few drops from the receivers, his stats would have looked a lot better than what they were.
All of his throws were dead on. He threw some lasers to Jamari Smith, and we had 3 drops from him. Brian Edwards had a drop.
Debo had a drop.
Yeah, Debo had a drop. It was really the drops that killed the stats. It wasn't anything Perry Worth did. So all you Perry Worth haters out there, I'm sorry, but he's actually not as bad as
North.
He took his north, and once I told the crowd that, it was over.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. He took us north. We won the game.
He's
He's
the band man.
2-0 against Vandy. What else you want?
He's the band man.
Like I said, once they cleaned up the issues, the fourth quarter they had Vanderbilt on their heels on defense, and Kurt Ripper was dialing it up.
Brian Edwards made some spectacular catches, and I really like what we saw from the offense. And I think if we continue that this week, we'll look pretty good as well.